That in February of last year, we gave public notice that any major contract signed by the NDP in the formal statutory campaign period would be subject to a value for money review by a United Conservative government. And in particular, we announced the day after the crude-by-rail contracts were signed our intention to offload those contracts, because we knew that this was something the private sector would be willing to do and should be doing at its risk, not at the expense of taxpayers. Now, you recall the NDP signed a project costs of $10.6 billion. They projected $8.8 billion in incremental revenues to eventually, over the course of 2 years, move 120,000 barrels per day of crude by rail. Now, we have not triggered those contracts, as you know, because we've been working with the private sector to sell those contracts, and I'm pleased to announce that we have done so on very successful terms that will save Alberta taxpayers $500 million. Another promise made, another promise kept. The NDP said that this risky $10.6 billion exposure of taxpayers was necessary to move more crude by rail. But guess what? Over the course of 2019, we saw crude by rail shipments out of Alberta more than triple. We went from about 100,000 barrels per day in January of last year to between 300,000 and 400,000 barrels per day currently. And the industry believes that it's on track towards the logistical maximum of moving 550,000 barrels per day under current conditions. And so the entire premise of the NDP's risky $10 billion deal was proven to be completely wrong, as we projected in February of last year. Shipping crude by rail is something that the private sector is in the best position to be doing itself. Enabling industry-led rail capacity is an important aspect of ensuring sufficient market access to our resources. We promised Albertans that we would act in the best interest and transfer these contracts to industry, and that's exactly what we have done.